So I wanted to share with you guys a poem by A.E. Stallings. This is from this Afterlife, her selected poems. And I mentioned now weeks and weeks ago that I wanted to kind of, as we move through this year of videos, to kind of keep this book near us. And I recommended, if there's one book of contemporary poetry that you get and read this year, I recommended it be this one. And so I want to start getting to know this book a little bit. Let's look at this first poem. The first poem in this collection is called A Postcard from Greece. Hatched from sleep as we slipped out of orbit, round a clothespin curve new watered with the rain. I saw the sea, the sky as bright as pain, that outer space through which we were to plummet. No guardrails hemmed the road, no way to stop it. The only warning here and there, a shrine. Some tended still, some antique and forgotten, empty of oil, but all were consecrated to those who lost their wild race with the road and sliced the tedious sea once like a knife. Somehow we struck an olive tree instead. Our car stopped on the cliff's brow. Suddenly safe, we clung together, shade to pagan shade, surprised by sunlight, air, this afterlife. So this is a sonnet by A.E. Stallings. A.E. Stallings is a poet who's from, well, her biography has a little joke in it. She's from Athens, Georgia, and she now lives in Athens, Greece. Actually, she was born just outside of Athens, Georgia, in sort of small town Georgia. And she grew up in kind of the Southern American countryside. And she ended up at Oxford as a graduate student, studying not poetry, like a lot of poets do. They study creative writing, but instead, Stallings studied classics. In particular, she focused on Latin. And though from really the late 90s onward, she's had quite a distinguished career as a poet, she's also carried on a career as a classicist. She's translated Hesiod, Lucretius, and others. And one of the things that's, I think, so exciting about Alicia Stallings as a writer and thinker is that she's kind of on the world stage right now. I mentioned last time in our last video that she is the current Oxford professor of poetry. Now, we need a whole separate video to talk about her as professor of poetry and her thought about poetry. But today I want to look a little bit at this poem and kind of give you a taste for what kind of a poet she is. So this is called A Postcard from Greece. One of the cool things about a title to a sonnet, a sonnet's only 14 lines. You don't have a lot of room. A title kind of can give us the context in which to read a poem. And so this is A Postcard from Greece. It's set in Greece. The speaker seems to be sending this poem, this sonnet, as a postcard from Greece to us, maybe us in America, maybe at the very least us not in Greece. Hatched from sleep as we slipped out of orbit, round a clothespin curve new watered with the rain. I saw the sea, the sky as bright as pain, that outer space through which we were to plummet. So what's going on formally, I like to always go with form before content, is we have an ABBA rhyme scheme here. We have orbit, rain, pain, plummet. Now, orbit and plummet don't exactly rhyme, but they rhyme enough that we see that connection. What's going on in the content of this? Well, there seems to be some sort of hatching from sleep. This feels almost like we're in a Greek myth. We have Greece already talked about. Helen hatches from an egg in Greek myth. So hatched from sleep as we slipped out of orbit, Not really sure where we are. We might be in space, we might be in mythology. But then in the second line, we get clearer. Oh no, we're on a road. Round a clothespin curve new watered with rain. Oh no, a curvy road in the rain. That could be a little dangerous. I saw the sea, the sky as bright as pain. Oh no, we're on a road that's wet above the sea. That's potentially disastrous. That outer space through which we were to plummet. So we have this orbit and outer space, but now we're seeing, no, the outer space is what's beyond the road. I kind of picture that they're maybe elevated up on a cliff. If you've ever driven windy roads, whether in Greece or not, you know the nervous-making hairpin turns that even make the most experienced driver a bit nervous. No guardrails hemmed the road. This is not very safe. No way to stop it. The only warning here and there, a shrine. Now, this word shrine kind of calls back to the sort of Greek and mythological imagery. And, you know, if you've been in Greece before, or if you're familiar with Greek culture, you know that the shrines in Greece now wouldn't be to pagan gods or goddesses. They would be to saints. So when we have Greece and shrine, I think of, you know, a little wooden box on the side of a road. Maybe it has a peaked roof and it has a little icon of Mary or Christ or a saint, St. George, very popular in Greece. A shrine, some tended still, some antique and forgotten, empty of oil. Oil would be what you float a wick in order to burn in front of an image of a saint, an icon. Often these icons, especially if they're well taken care of, would be gilded. It's very beautiful. Candle flame in front of icon gold. It's one of the great beauties of Greek culture. But all were consecrated to those who lost their wild race with the road and sliced the tedious sea once like a knife. Okay, now I love this because all of a sudden we get this specificity. These aren't necessarily shrines to saints. These are shrines to those who have died on this road that the speaker is driving on. So what seems like a general, shrines in Greece, we kind of know where we're at with that. No, these are shrines. Maybe there's also religious imagery in these shrines, but these are to people who died in the exact same place that the speaker is. This is a creation, I think, through beauty and through beautiful imagery of tension, of drama. Slice the tedious ocean once like a knife. It's hard not to think of the ships in Homer that slice through the waves, the knives, the blades of the Trojan War. Somehow we struck an olive tree instead. So we're coming into the last 4 lines of the poem with somehow we struck an olive tree instead. This is the 11th line of the poem. Our car stopped on the cliff's brow. Okay. They're not going to become another casualty of these honestly unsafe. Someone should write the, whatever municipality takes care of these roads and tell them, we got to put up some guardrails or something. We stopped on the cliff's brow, suddenly safe. We clung together, shade to pagan shade. I love this. All of a sudden, the Greek mythology comes flooding back. The idea of shades, that's the pagan underworld. That's Odysseus in the Odyssey when he's meeting the shades. And I think it's interesting, shade to pagan shade. Is the speaker the shade? Is the speaker the pagan shade? It's interesting. There's a little bit of playing with both the Christian and the mythological, but also the very, personal aspects of death and remembrance here. We clung together, shade to pagan shade, surprised by sunlight, air, this afterlife. Safe, suddenly safe, it sets up that partial rhyme with afterlife in a really wonderful way. What afterlife? Well, if we almost die, I think, there's a lot of poetry about this. If you sense your own mortality and you realize, I was in danger of dying, it seems like every breath you take after that realization is a gift. And the speaker has this sort of shared experience. I picture a husband and wife driving in a car, or maybe boyfriend and girlfriend. I'm not sure exactly who the speaker is supposed to be here, but someone's driving with someone else in Greece and almost drive off a cliff. This is one of the cool things I think about contemporary poetry. This is a sonnet. It's following this sort of basic sonnet structure. It's got rhyme. It's got rhythm. It has mythology, both from the Greek classical period, references to Christian practice in Greece. This would have been, from the late antique period onward into the present. But we also have these ideas of cars and roads, very contemporary, and it's a moment in time that is caught in the structure of the sonnet. And the sonnet gives us a structure to create and relieve drama, and then give us this sense of revelation at the end. This is why I like Alicia Stallings. She can give us dense lines. She can give us illusions, but in the end lead us to, hopefully, what can feel like a contemporary human moment of understanding. Thanks for hanging out with us, reading this poem. If you like this poem, if you want to hear more, get this Afterlife. It's a great collection. We're going to keep looking back at it over the next few months. Thanks so much. I've been Dr. Timothy Bartell.